Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the back nine coverage of round 2 of the 2019 Great Lakes Open presented by Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. I'm Brian Earhart, again joined here by Kevin Jones. Going to bring you some commentary on this battle of a round. How's it going, Kevin?
Good, Brian. Yes, we are in the heat of some battle right now. Some awesome scores being put up, honestly. Everybody under par, everybody looking for more birdies. Paul McBeth with a scorching front nine, 7 down. In the lead right now, 16 under par. It's looking pretty good.
That is some hot shooting right there on the front nine. And hole 10 is where we start this big stretch of bonus birdies. 370 feet, but a very, very challenging shot shape for the right-handed player especially.
Yeah, this is a very big Anheuser shot, kind of a late flipping Anheuser because you have to push far enough forward to get around this tree.
And Paul's going with a semi-stable fairway driver, and this is a little bit too stalled out. The thing here is you have to get it turning right off the bat, but since the slope of the green is so steep, you have to get it to flatten as it's falling to the green. Otherwise, you're going to cut roll down the hill.
Yeah, it does need to be pretty flat. That's very, very hard to worry about, though, with how difficult this shot is. Luckily, mine does get pretty flat there, and
it looks fantastic.
Inside the circle is great on this hole.
Anthony going a little bit lower.
Not bad.
Yeah, and he'll find himself about 35 feet from the basket, so not too shabby.
Being in the short grass here is a definite advantage. Helps a lot on your putts.
And then Chris trying to go a little bit lower and tighter with that lefty hyzer.
He knew he didn't get this high enough to get to the pin, but a solid shot.
I do like that play, the lefty hyzer going a little bit lower. Any higher hyzers don't push forward enough to get to the basket.
Right. Paul with a really tough look right there. That's just going to be a 3.
And it doesn't seem like he's been able to get these circle 2 putts to click for him this round. Hopefully he snags a couple on this back nine.
Yeah, he's still right all over it.
AB unable to capitalize, and you are here from about 28, it looks like. Ooh.
Man, this is one of those moments like, why do you do this to yourself, Kevin? You knew what can possibly happen, and it rolls to this very dangerous ditch.
Luckily, you capitalize on the par putt. No damage done. Paul missing his birdie as well, but definitely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I'm very happy to get that comeback putt. That could have ended badly, quickly.
Oh yeah. And the rest are going to tap in for their pars. Yeah, definitely one of the higher level shots I think this course makes the righty throw, especially on a par 3. I really love watching the players throw this. And then Chris almost getting the lefty hyzer up there. But it looks like we're going to take 4 pars on hole number 10. And then we move to kind of the opposite shot shape, hole number 11.
Yeah, so hole 11 is an extreme hole, very far up the hill to the left now. Really takes kind of a straight distance driver at least, or a flippy distance driver, because we're going so severely uphill that it makes the disc overstable, and you really need that glide.
Tons of glide. You need to push forward and actually almost get to flat as it's flying forward. It's a very awesome shot that the designer is making these players throw, and Paul's probably got a Zeus in his hand.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites on the course for sure. Paul throwing pretty stable, a lot of hyzer, and he will leak out a little bit left to about 35, it looks like.
And this type of hyzer is one of your favorite shots to throw, I think.
Yeah, I'm throwing my flippiest D2. I use it for big turnovers, sometimes even rollers. But
that's money.
Up this hill, it plays so overstable, and it's just the perfect disc for it. Anthony's going to be taking advantage of the grass run-up on the tee box, which actually makes this gap a little bit wider.
And he smoked this disc. This is exactly how you're supposed to play the hole here, folks.
I think that's a cloud breaker going right to the pin. It's an awesome shot.
Clemons going with a low turnover, which is, I think the hole does shape better for this type of line, for the turnover flex, but he just didn't quite get the power on it he needed. He'll have an easy putter shot to the basket. Maybe a little too easy for him. Almost drains that for the 2.
That was pretty nonchalant, right to the chains. Paul with a lot of stuff in his reach back. His stroke was a little blocked by the tall grass, and that made that putt really hard.
And that's the putt you wanted on the last hole. Snagging that birdie, tying everything up. 16 down apiece. AB with another beautiful tee shot. This is a great birdie to get.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's very easy to miss this gap on the tee shot. We'll have a uphill run up that makes it so hard to time your release perfectly, and it's just so far. This whole play's like 450 feet.
It's definitely a bonus birdie, I would say. And speaking of bonus birdies, number 12 is no different. We have 2 birdies from Kevin and Anthony, and then we have Chris and Paul taking the 2 pars, and now we see a tie ball game. We have 16 down, going into, I would say, the most bonus of birdies on the course.
Yeah, probably so. I believe last year we saw Paul McBeth at least make the gap twice, if not birdie it twice last year, which was super incredible. This year we're just looking the same. He showed us all how to do the shot. It's like a flip up sidearm all the way through the gap with a nice flare at the end. Takes a low line also. This is leaking right. Luckily it gets through the tree, hits another tree in the gap, and drops down to an ideal spot for just an up and down 3.
Anthony, I think, making the same mistake and sawing off the forehand a little bit.
Yeah, I believe the same thing that happened to my disc happened to Anthony's. We actually have a pretty hard left to right wind out there that really picked up our discs going downhill like this. It's going to do even the same thing to Paul.
They're all getting a little bit too much hyzer on it. It's a very specific shot that this fairway wants you to throw if you want to get to the green.
Definitely. And the wind could help us theoretically, but we all underestimated it. And Chris, trying to kind of judge his off of our shots, he pushes it too far straight. Once that disc got flat, the wind just pushed it straight.
No problem up and down for AB there.
Yeah, that was a good Nova shot. So sidearm Chris from the woods.
Oh, man. What?
Yeah.
Unfortunate roll, but he is all over the basket with those sidearms.
That was nuts,
Oh,
man.
my gosh.
Through the gap and just an inch low, if even.
Paul's little patent pending backhand.
Yeah, so 3 of us had a pretty a relatively easy up and down for our 3. Chris with the hardest of the 4, and he is the one that hits the basket. And now he's got the furthest putt of us. It's a good putt.
Oh, yeah.
Chris has a really quick routine. He will step up to his disc. He'll look at the basket. He will make sure he's ready, and then he just putts it.
And I like that mindset. I think if you've done it a million times before, there's no need to overanalyze, especially with how low the wind was this week. Even when we thought there was wind, it was still only about 10 miles an hour.
Very true.
Paul tapping into 3. And this is one of the par 3s where I think there is a lot of danger where a 4 can present itself. A lot of these bonus birdies, if you don't throw a perfect tee shot, a lot of times you're laying up for an easy 3. But this one definitely was one of the tougher par 3s. As you can see, with 4 pars, no one able to capitalize on the hole. We are going to move into this back stretch, which I like to call the home stretch of the course. We have a lot of birdieable holes out here. Hole number 13. 700 feet, par 4, no out of bounds whatsoever. So players, it's really off to the races off the tee pad.
Yes, this is a hole that everybody on this card is looking to cash in a 3, no doubt. And even like all these holes coming up are all scoring holes, like you said. Like this is a big part of the course where we're trying to get some strokes and get further under par. I'm not trying to do anything too crazy here.
I love it.
That's just, right to the flat area, short grass. I'll have a fairway driver up shot that I've practiced before in practice.
And when any hole tells AB he can throw as far as he wants, he will probably do that.
No doubt. That's a cloud breaker all the way up the hill. He could throw a putter from there.
Paul going Zeus. He's turned that one over a little bit.
Oh, yeah, he has. This is going to be in the tall grass.
Oh, and that's a tough lie as well.
Yeah, with a post in his way, sort of. That's a tough one. That's definitely a tough shot. With the slope of the hill and the tall grass makes that very touchy.
Clemons throwing a textbook drifting shot. That's going to land perfectly in the middle of the fairway. You don't need to do too much off the tee. You really don't. I mean, where Clemons is at, he has either a sidearm driver or a backhand turnover with a mid, and it looks like he has yanked this a little bit.
Just pushed it a little far right. That's not going to be putting that
with the
easily.
Uphill lie that this approach shot has, you have to push it a lot more left than you think you have to.
Definitely. I'm going to go H1 V2 here, up the hill.
And that looks too left, but it actually might be perfect. And that's the thing about this hole. You're only about 15 feet left of the basket, but it looked like you sawed it off.
Yeah, any more saw off, and it's going to be in the woods struggling for a birdie.
And that is struggling for a birdie right there.
Yeah.
That was a tough lie from Paul. He might have some sort of look from about 35.
I'd be really surprised if he has a look through that junk.
Nice standstill shot from AB. He has about a 25-footer. Decently obstructed, but nothing he can't straddle out of. Paul from a tough lie here. No dice on that. He's going to have another 15, 20-footer to the basket. And AB with a gorgeous putt has capitalized on the birdie from a standstill position on his second shot. That is a nice feeling to snag the birdie on that. And he is not wanting a par on this. This was, especially with the shot that he needed to throw off the tee, just being a basic hyzer, I think he's definitely disappointed in himself for that. And another birdie.
Yeah, that was pretty textbook for me about how I drew it up. Hyzer, dropping in a 3.
We've been seeing a lot of good scoring spread across this round. A decent amount of birdies, some bigger numbers, a lot of pars. So 2 and 2 here, 2 birdies, 2 pars. We're going to move into probably one of the easiest holes in the course.
Yeah, it's actually the second easiest hole on the course. This hole had a lot of birdies from the field. It's a wide sweeping hyzer. Ideally, you want to sweep in late on the backside of this green because that's where the trees kind of open up and give you the most space. The second that you kind of saw this off really brings in a lot of luck. I'm actually throwing an A2 here because it has so much glide. I can throw it way out right and swing it back in, and that was
about picture perfect right there.
That's exactly what I wanted to see from it.
And I like how you're mentioning the line that it takes to pure this hole. A lot of players are not looking to pure this hole. A lot of players are looking to throw a hyzer like AB and crash through the canopy of the trees. And if you do hit the hyzer right, pushing through the canopy is not that difficult. But every now and then you'll lose the dice roll. And
oh wow, that worked out.
Looks
super
like he
well.
won the dice roll on that one for sure. Chris going with the big hyzer sidearm. That might be a little bit early.
Looks like it is coming in early, but high.
And another dice roll has been won.
Yeah, that's inside the circle. Can't complain.
Awesome knee putt from Chris.
Sure
that
was.
Feels good to get. Especially after missing the last hole. It's nice to capitalize on a birdie.
Another knee putt coming right up.
A little bit of a quick release on that. Back to back. Coming in on this home stretch, especially with things being as tight as they are for you guys, you're wanting to just attack every single hole for birdie. And after Paul taps in his as well, it's coming into kind of this back stretch where we have 4, perfectly birdieable holes to finish this round off. 3 birdies and a par from our card. And we are going to take a quick commercial break again from a word from our sponsors. Hole number 15, 567-foot par 4. Decent change from last year with the OB on the left side, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, adds a little bit of a, I guess you could say, a little degree of difficulty on the tee shot, making sure that you don't push this shot too far straight, nor try to cut off too much distance.
But I think for you, your game plan wouldn't change whatsoever.
No, not really. I think you can make this hole easy by throwing a 350-foot sidearm to about where I threw it there, and then just a putter shot to the green. This hole is the easiest hole on the course, after the second easiest. So we're at the point where if you don't get a birdie, you're going to lose strokes on the top of the field.
Exactly. And Paul has sawed his off a little bit, but as you can see, that right side is not OB, and he's going to have a pretty open look to the basket.
Yeah, this looks great from Chris also.
This is pure.
Coming in just in time, way down there. He'll love that as a lefty.
Absolutely. Yeah, this hole, not too demanding. It's really just a hyzer. The gap is not huge. We're seeing all these players throw power hyzer. I think this hole was also the easiest hole in the course last year, even without the OB. So I think this is just one that a 4 feels like you've failed the hole, and a 3 feels like what you're supposed to do here.
That is becoming overstable, and that'll cost him some feet.
It definitely was going to cost him some feet. He lost about 7 feet on that. He's about 25 from the basket, and you're hoping to make an adjustment on that. And that is parked, folks. Should be a no-brainer for Clemons. Another, I would say, at this point, parked for him. AB going Nova straight at it, I believe. That disc that he's throwing, that Nova, is so crazy because you saw the angle he released it at, and it never left the line. And I think that's what he likes about it. If you're feeling your angles with a disc like that, putting it where you want is pretty easy. Paul from about 25.
To the center. That was a hearted putt. Coming down the stretch, he's still right on his game, knocking down some nice birdies.
That's got to sit down.
And it does not. That rolls to 45 feet up the hill through
That's
a
his
tree.
Second roll of the round, too.
To the middle.
Awesome putt. That is a pro-level comeback putt right there.
Yeah, awesome mental game from AB right there. Knocking in a par. He knows he lost a stroke, but he easily could have lost 2 strokes because of the green.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, when you get your second roll away of the round like that, it's easy to get discouraged and start, feeling like a victim at that point of bad luck. And for him to cash that is huge. For you, cashing that birdie putt is huge. I think it keeps everything close. I think you still got Paul by 1 stroke, 19 down to 18 down. You're both 9 down for the round, so you guys are both feeling it.
Yeah, I like the spot that we're in right now. We have 3 very scoreable holes left, 16 being a really fun hole, 354 feet. I think it's a hyzer flip mid-range right down this gap. I aim at this tree on the right side that we're about to pass, and I just try to hyzer flip it right in front of the tree, stand it up all the way to the pin. That's what I think the line
It's
is.
a fun, baby hyzer flip shot, or you can go something flat to overstable if you'd like, depending on what the wind is, and I think you're going with that baby hyzer flip, and that's beautiful.
I loved it out of my hand. This is my KJ Signature Series M3 in the Spectrum plastic. That disc is money for me on this hole. It's literally the perfect shape for me. Paul trying to match that.
And that's getting a little too straight on him, and that is a unfortunate mistake for him to make, especially after watching you pure that shot.
Yeah, he was really frustrated with that shot. He says he never misses this line. It's like his bread and butter, which I've seen it. He's pured this shot in front of me plenty of times.
And I would not want to see the amount of nicks on that tree that people are hitting. That one gets hit so often.
Very true.
And you have to throw almost just like AB is doing. You have to more challenge that middle pine rather than the right side. And I think that's the illusion that the hole creates for you.
Yeah, great shot from AB. That was about the worst result he could have received from that shot.
Yep. But still, circle's edge. He's been putting those circle's edge putts pretty well.
Paul almost cashed in that zone for birdie.
Would have been nice.
I would have. AB just outside the circle for birdie. Oh, just off right again. He missed that last hole on the right side also.
Cashes in a par after kind of an unfortunate tree kick after that drive. Paul tapping in the par as well, and you are parked. That is another solid birdie. That gives you a turkey, and that feels good going into these last 2 holes.
Definitely does. Another very scoreable hole coming up, 17. We're going to see some bombs.
And you are definitely right about that. This year, hole 17 has OB all down the left side. So we see that tall grass there. That's all OB this year. The players have to throw a shot that flexes and lands in that landing strip there. So you're going to see righties playing the hole a little differently than last year. A lot of huge flexes out right of that big tree.
Yeah, a lot of people taking a little bit more advantage of the spotters this year, chunking it into the tall grass like you're going to see me do. This is so far right.
Hey, you have thrown this into the next county, I think.
That was so far right. All the way up on that flat spot. It's funny because it was really bad, but it's going to turn out to be a scoring play on this hole. Paul's going huge. Paul threw that as hard as he could.
A little bit low, but still puts him in an average spot to the basket. He might have still stuck in those tall bushes right there, unfortunately.
Mediocre at best. That's in the middle of a bush. He's going to have to kind of step out and do something crazy from there.
And this hole definitely playing a lot easier for lefties off the tee. Chris is getting to fade away from the OB, but you still have to watch out for that ridge there. I think he's going to be in a decent scoring position.
It seems like we're all being pretty cautious of this OB. No reason to mess with it when we have all this room on the right side. Anthony unleashed on this disc.
Oh my
And it's picking up. It's picking up full flex and a skip.
That's enormous.
You can't skip through any part of this except the walking path, and he even caught an extra 25, 30 feet
That's
on a
one of the
skip.
biggest drives I've seen in this hole.
It has to be. It has to be one of the biggest drives
That was
ever
huge.
on this hole. So that was me from off in the distance. I caught that tree just like I needed to, and it's going to drop me on the circle's edge. Paul from the bush. I was thinking he might be able to go zone here, but it's way further than I thought.
That's a very high-level sidearm for him to throw from that bush.
Absolutely. That's
a
going
lot
to be
of risk control.
inside the circle for a birdie putt from the middle of a bush. It's pretty impressive.
Was that a turkey?
Yes, it is, and there it goes. Oh,
See you later,
nice.
big fella.
Great camera work from Peter.
And AB, after throwing almost a mile, I think, has a putter standstill upshot.
That's how you draw it up, ladies and gentlemen.
This is not a short hole.
Oh, this is such a long hole. He threw it 600 feet.
And that's 15 feet from the basket.
Yeah, making work of this hole. It should be a relatively easy 3. Just caught Chris's upshot there. I have a good line at this putt from about 30 feet, just inside the circle.
Cashed it. That feels good after watching that flick from Paul.
Yeah, we're coming down the stretch, and at this point, it's just get every stroke that you can possibly get going into tomorrow. Paul makes easy work of it as well, just over the rim, and that's going to be a birdie. A little bit unorthodox birdies from both I and Paul.
And that's the thing. When you put the OB on the left side, you have the players wanting to play the tall grass. I think next year they might get smart and maybe mow that area or at least weed whack it so it's easier on the spotters.
I think that this hole will be different next year.
Anthony cashes in.
It's a good 3 from Anthony, just easy.
And Chris, unfortunately, tapping in there. and a 5 from Chris, and 3 birdies from the rest of the card. That is a good spread for those birdies. We are going to move into hole number 18, and we have a very tight race happening right now.
Yeah, hole 18 is a reachable hole for everyone on this card. Everyone on this card either has the sidearm necessary or the lefty backhand to get up the fairway. This hole plays like 400 plus feet, no doubt, and you have to get it all the way to the right. It's such a tough hole to get inside the circle, but we probably will see some circle 2 putts if you ask me.
That's what you see a lot of on this hole, unless you really push this shot right.
We had a semi-weird wind. Like, it was a tailwind, but not quite enough of a tailwind to help our disc get right. It just kind of pushed it up straight, like Paul here, and that looks good. That looks really good. Doesn't get any too crazy carry, though, to the right, and he's just right around where I am.
Yeah, it's another one of those holes where when you feel like you throw it perfect, you're wide. But when you feel like you saw it off, you're by the basket.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting hole, and I think, Chris is hoping to capitalize on this and throw something maybe a little bit more stable. And I actually like this line, to be honest. He needed to maybe go a little bit higher, but the trajectory of the disc and where it was fading to is exactly what you need to do, just a little bit more power on it.
Yeah, 3 solid shots and 1 amazing shot from Anthony.
Yep.
Getting a sidearm into the circle is ginormous.
It is every bit of the word ginormous. Paul, from about where he was when he cashed in for his 18.
Paul has a right-to-left wind here, like right-to-left tailwind, and he played it perfectly.
It's a great birdie to finish the round. He knew exactly where he was at.
Yeah, there was never a doubt where that disc was going. Such a perfect wind play. It was definitely kind of a funky wind here.
And then you, from just a couple feet shorter than Paul after watching him cash that.
I really like this distance. This is a good distance for me.
This is the Kevin Jones distance for sure.
In a big moment, I'm really trying to take my time here, make sure that I'm mentally ready.
Just off the top band. That must feel like a kick in the stomach after how you released it. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good release, just not good enough. It needed to be more lower and right.
Yep. And AB from inside the circle after that.
For lead card. This is to knock Zach Johnson off of the lead card.
And he's done it.
There.
Wow.
He knows it. That's to turn in a 6 under par after a rough, like crazy looking round from him.
Yeah, definitely a roller coaster ride. I think this was a very entertaining round to watch. I think a lot of moments of brilliance from all players.
Definitely.
Chris tapping in the par. Yeah, this was definitely entertaining to watch. We had a couple fantastic rounds. You and Paul shooting 11 under par, which is incredible. And then a 6 under par from Anthony, which is still not bad. And then Chris, fortunately, dropping a few strokes here and there and shooting a 3 under. You look at this leaderboard, and now we have Zach Melton joining the lead card. Anthony Barela stays on after that putt. And then you and Paul are neck and neck at 21 and 20 under par. I think we're going to have some really exciting action going into round 3. And again, thank you so much for joining us for this round. This was fantastic. Make sure to subscribe to Central Coast Disc Golf, and we will catch you for the final round.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you in the final round coverage. Come check it out.
See ya.